Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Gary. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, buddy. An active weekend this past weekend for Alabama football recruiting. Of course, A-Day coming up, so it'll be active again. But we've talked about a lot of linebackers. It's a great year for linebackers for 2017, even in the state of Alabama. But one of the best in the country might be Vandarius Cowan from down in Palm Beach, Florida. Had been committed to Florida State. Athletic, long-armed kid that can really run, and he came to Tuscaloosa this past weekend and shut it down. He said, I'm decommitting from Florida State, committing to Alabama, and my recruitment is closed. What do you make of this flipping from FSU to Alabama, and what kind of player is Vandarius Cowan?
Well, you said it. He's a big-bodied kid, 6'4", 220 pounds, out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. He did flip. I don't think it was a shocker to the Alabama coaching staff. However, it's an enormous pickup. I mean, this kid can really play. He's one of the best outside linebackers in the country. He's the perfect mold for Alabama. And the style that they play. He's a very versatile kid. You could really ask him to do a lot. I mean, he can play with his hand in the dirt. He can play outside, inside. It really depends on how his body just develops. But his sheer size and how athletic he is really surprising when you watch him play. But yeah, he has a frame to put a ton of weight on, just depending on the way they want to play him. I mean, he could go all the way up to 265. They could play him at 250. Just really depends. But it's an enormous pickup, and he's all Alabama. Yeah, he said he's shutting it down. Big loss for the Florida State Seminoles, but huge pickup for Alabama, and I think he can be one of those players a couple of years ago, like Blake Barnett did for Alabama, helping recruit other players for this class. And he joins Gary Johnson, the linebacker out of Dodge City, Kansas Community College, and already setting up a tremendous linebacking core already in this class.
Yeah, you mentioned him doing some recruiting. He's a high-profile player, very outgoing. I got a couple quotes for you here. Mike, I'm recruiting well, Cowan told Campus Insiders. I've been recruiting for my class, and he is Nick Saban. He only wants the best. Then he said, I'm not going to say, Cowan said with a laugh, but just know I'm flipping a couple more people. So he is one of these guys, as I said, very engaging personality, high-profile recruit, and it looks like he is on the Alabama. Not only is he committed to Alabama, he's on the Alabama recruiting train himself.
Yeah, very rare when you get a kid that said he's shutting it down this early and you actually believe him, Yeah, I think he really is all Alabama, and I think he's going to get a couple kids to come with him.
Well, I tell you, Alabama fans like hearing that. All right, let's talk about some other guys that Alabama's pursuing. And I'm going to work on the quarterback's name, so I'll get to him in a moment. What about defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin? Who is this young man? Where's he from? And how does Alabama fit in his recruitment?
Well, he's a defensive tackle out of Lafayette, Louisiana. 6'3", 300-plus pound, mammoth defensive tackle, the kind that Alabama likes to plug up those gaps. He's probably the second best, other than Marvin Wilson, that I've seen in the class out of the defensive tackles. And he is an LSU commit. However, Alabama's been after him for quite some time, and I think he had a very good trip to Alabama recently. And he's one of those players. He reminds me he's a bigger version, but It reminds me a lot of Jaron Reed. He's a gap plugger. He plugs up that gap and allows other people to make the tackles. But he's real big, and it's going to be a Bo Davis versus Ed Orgeron battle. Ed Orgeron being the defensive line coach at LSU, Bo Davis, the defensive line coach at Alabama. And Alabama really, really likes this kid, and I know why, because the way we play, we got to have a guy to take on the double teams and do the dirty work behind the scenes, and not always end up with the best statistics, but it's just vital for the way that Alabama plays defense, and he's got a great motor on him. He can tread that block and get in the backfield, and I think Alabama has a real good shot with him. And like I said, this is one of the top defensive tackles in the country. If Alabama could flip that kid eventually, it'd be a huge win for Alabama.
Okay, Alabama fans getting concerned about signing a quarterback in this 2017 class. A couple of targets have committed elsewhere. But a young man all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii, is on Alabama's list, and he seems to be really interested in Alabama. You've broken down his film. You think he's outstanding. I hope it's Tua Tagovailoa is what I'm going with. But
that'll work.
Close enough for now until we can get a correct pronunciation. Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback from Honolulu, Hawaii, dual threat, athletic quarterback. A lot of those guys from Hawaii usually will stay on the West Coast. Sometimes they wind up at some of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints schools. The Mormon religion is big there in Hawaii. But this young man seems really, really interested in Alabama.
Well, Gary, I've been high on this kid for a while, and I didn't think that Alabama really would have a shot with him. I thought if they could get him on campus, it would give them just a little bit of a chance. But, from all indications, they got him on campus. He visited, and then he left and visited Auburn and Ole Miss, and then he came back, and I heard he is leaving today out of Tuscaloosa to go back to Hawaii. But from everything that I've heard is Alabama did a ton of work on him. And like you said, Alabama's running out of options at quarterback for this class. I think he's number one on their board. I think they made him an absolute priority. I don't think we would be on this kid if Lane Kiffin didn't originate, from the West Coast and have connections out there. But like you said, he's an extremely athletic kid, can really throw the ball as well. About 6'1.5", 185 pounds, has excellent instincts, moves a lot like Jalen Hurts, the quarterback that we got last year out of Texas. And I'd be thrilled. I think Alabama is really, really in the race with him now. And like I said, I think Alabama expressed to him that you're our guy, and they really want him. And I think they made up a ton of ground. Now, when he gets back to Hawaii, will USC and UCLA be in contact with him? Probably, absolutely. They're going to be worried because he was definitely leaning towards USC, and I think Alabama really, really gave him something to think about. And I do. I think he's the best quarterback in the entire class. I really do, and I think he'd be a fantastic addition to this class, and I hope Alabama sticks with it, and I hope they pull him out of there.
Mike Parker, our guest, recruiting analyst for Crimson Cover TV, every Friday night at 6:30 on WVUA 23. You can follow the Crimson Cover Twitter account at Crimson_Cover. I'm going to read you something here. I got a kick out of this, talking about Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback from Honolulu, Hawaii, and how big a deal it is when Nick Saban offers you. He talked about being a little starstruck the first time he talked with Saban on the phone. Going on the phone with Coach Saban is something really big, he told Hawaii News Now in an interview. You look at him as a superstar. You see him in movies. It's just something really great. I mean, listen, I know he went on to say he feels blessed to receive the offers he's received from all of the schools. But clearly, when you get a call from Nick Saban and he offers you a scholarship, it's a little something different, Mike.
Yeah, 4,000 miles away. Alabama doesn't, go after a lot of Hawaii prospects. In fact, I really can't even remember one in recent memory. But, like I said, I think it was the Lane Kiffin thing. I'm not sure about that, no, but I'm pretty sure Lane Kiffin had something to do with this. I
think Tosh LaPoy is really the guy that got it going. I think that's really the connection.
That could be it too. Yeah, Tosh is a West Coast guy too, and he's excellent at evaluating players, and not just defensive linemen. He's excellent at evaluating anybody. I think he's an outstanding coach, and with this kid, I really do. Everything that I've read and heard, all the interviews, he just really sounds like a stand-up guy, very grounded, and can play football, and that's why Alabama wants him. And like I said, Gary, I think they really have him thinking long and hard about the Crimson Tide when it all comes down to it.
Okay, I want to ask you about defensive end Robert Beal out of Norcross, Georgia, a tremendous athlete. I mean, I got to be honest with you, Mike. You put him on the list of guys you wanted to discuss. I don't see him leaving the state of Georgia. I mean, I know Alabama's making a push here, but I think he's got Bulldog red and black written all over him. What do you think Alabama's chances are?
Well, he committed to Notre Dame early in the process, and then he's eliminated them now. I think Kirby Smart, when he went to Georgia, probably had a lot to do with that. But I actually think Alabama does have a shot with him. I think it's definitely a battle between the two powers, Alabama and Georgia. But I think Alabama's targeted him as one of their pass rushing specialists. Like I think he's one of the best pass rushers in the country. Do I think he's a three-down type player? Probably not. He's more of like a Tim Williams type player, but his first step off the edge is so quick that I think Alabama is really going to try to fight till the brutal end to get the kid, because his first step is just wicked. I mean, it's nasty. That kid can rush the quarterback, and you might be right, and you probably are. He probably will end up in Georgia, but I think Alabama's got a better shot than most people think.
Well, if anybody can turn them, it's Nick Saban in Alabama. Appreciate the time, Mike.
No problem, Gary. No problem.